the bottom. Hope that you finally see I'm not good enough. And even in my wildest dreams, I didn't think that we could be together. Am I living in a fantasy? Or is this for real? Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. For someone like me. Someone like me. For someone like me. For someone like me. Even in my wildest dreams, didn't think that we could be together. Living in a fantasy. Is this for real? Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Someone like me. Someone like me. Someone like me. Someone like me.
Gonna stay in this moment. Gonna lay here on the grass. I don't need to feel lonely. I am finally home at last. I don't mind being gone on adventures for a while. No, no. 'Cause the best thing about it is I know I'm coming back. Oh, oh. Of all the magic places in the world I've been to, this is where my heart is. Oh, you know it's true. No matter where I go, I'm coming the magic places in the world I've been to. This is where my heart is. Oh, you know it's true. No matter where I go, I'm coming home to you.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different. Still you stay cause you feel something real. Get so lost in my moments. Doesn't mean I don't need you. I fell in love with your colors. They kinda tell me what I'm thinking. Fell in love with the way we are and the way we lose it. There's something different about us, and the reason why we stay. We fly around like paper planes. They never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us, still they wanna tear us apart. There's something different about the way we are. There's something different about us. There's something different about us. We're pouring cup after cup after cup. Yeah, it's just the way we do it. Anything just to block out the real life, real life. Yeah, we're loving the way they think we're so messed up. Even if what we're doing is bad, there's already emotions. Sharing stories that we never had, yeah, none is real. I think we're searching for reasons not to be like them. We fly around like paper planes. They never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us, still they wanna tear us apart. There's something different about the way we are. There's something different about us. There's something different about us. There's something different about the way we are. There's something different about the way we are. I used to stay up all night trying to find my place, chasing neon lights and looking for some kind of trace to lead me out of darkness. Give me a little faith, something to make me stronger, someone who could light the way. And you came to me and you gave me reason. I almost can't believe it. Every time we touch, I feel at home. There's no way I'd ever let you go. May you put your hands in mine. No, I'm gonna be alright. I don't know what you do to me, but I feel like I am way up in the sky. May you put your hands in mine. No, I'm gonna be alright. Cause when we touch is when I really come alive. Yeah, cause when we touch is when I really come alive. Yeah. I don't know anybody. Not even with my thoughts. feel me flying over the clouds. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm flying over the clouds. I'm not coming down. Every time we touch, I feel at home. There's no way I'd ever let you go. When you put your hands in mine, I know it's gonna be alright. I don't know what you do to me, but I feel like I am way up in the sky. When you put your hands in mine, I know it's gonna be alright. 'Cause when we touch is when I really come alive. Every time we touch, I feel at home. There's no way I'd ever let you go. When you put your hands in mine, I know it's gonna be alright. Yeah, I don't know what you do for me, but I feel like I am way up in the sky. When you put your hands in mine, I know it's gonna be alright. The touch is gonna really come alive.
How many mountains to get some confidence? How many deep bays to gain some tailwind? Years pass, I'm still the same. What will it take? Why the rain? Up and down, I'm moving ground. Tender, tell me what, baby. I ain't gotta be too polite. Tender, show me I'm sexy. What is spreading? Ooh, ooh, what to do? I am me and not you. Ooh, ooh, what to say? Please make the strain go away. Pretender. How many right turns to reach some kind of goal? How many dressing up for me to play some role? Seasons change, still the same rain. What will it take? Tell me why the rain? Up and down, I'm moving around. Tender, tell me what to believe. I ain't got a sweet tooth for lying. Spender, show me how to succeed. My wallet is spreading thin. Oh, ooh, ooh, what to do? I am me and not you. Ooh, ooh, what to say? Please make the strain go away. Pretender. Just don't ask me out. I'd be anything else to try. Pretender. Pretender, tell me what to believe. I ain't got a sweet tooth for lying. Spender, show me how to succeed. My wallet is spreading thin. Ooh, 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 what to do? I am me and not you. Ooh, ooh, what to say? Please make the string go away. change. I seem to be stuck in the same pretender.
Maybe I'm not the one who turn on to me. My fingernails are worn out. And I thought that I thought one like you. Not the same broken whole life. I don't wanna run away from you. Baby, I'm done. Hiding my love for you. Please won't you run away with me? 'Cause you can't control who you fall for. When the world is blue, you can these red lights that we share with the stars in the moonlight. One morning comes a brand new day. We have to pretend we don't know each other. But I don't wanna run away from you. 'Cause baby, I'm done hiding my love for you. Please won't you run away with me? 'Cause you can't control who you fall for.
Raised our shadows among the pines.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will start our event in 2 minutes to give some of our delegates time to get some refreshments. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Good morning. Welcome to Regulatory Roundtable, hosted by Indonesia Financial Services Authority, or OJK, taking up the topic of connecting Asia-Pacific Fintech ecosystem. We're delighted to welcome all of you who have taken time from your busy schedules to attend this event, both joining in person in Bali and the ones connecting with us virtually. I am Novita Bakhtiar of OJK, who will be the MC for this morning's roundtable. First, allow me to brief you on the order of the meeting. The roundtable will start with a session dedicated to regulators. Each authority will be given 10 minutes to deliver their views and will be followed by Q&A session. The next part is discussion with Fintech associations, in which each association will be given 5 minutes to present their views and then followed by a brief Q&A. There will be a closing remarks, and then we will conclude the session. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our moderator of this roundtable, Mr. Imansyah. Mr. Imansyah is OJK Deputy Commissioner in charge of OJK Institute and Digital Finance Innovation. Yes. Prior to his positions at OJK, Mr. Imansyah held various positions during his career at Bank Indonesia. Before the OJK Institute and Digital Finance Innovations, Mr. Imansyah was Deputy Commissioner for Research and International Affairs, as well as Deputy Commissioner in charge of Integrated Supervision. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, without further ado, I will give the time for Mr. Imansyah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Novita, for bring us to our specific session, and it is called like regulatory roundtable discussions among the regulators as well as the fintech players in the region, in particular the Asia Pacific region. So I don't know whether I have to regard all the our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, but I think to some extent the faces are quite familiar for me already because we have a brief talk this morning, and then I think it is a great honor for OJK to have Ms. Amor and also Pak Pandu, Mr. Wilson, and also Kito-san, thank you, and also Mr. Ruben, and also for sure from our colleagues from the Cambodia Financial Services Authority, Dr. Sompe, my colleagues from the Central Bank of Indonesia, Bank Indonesia, Pak Dudi, also colleagues from the Pak Chris from the API, from the and also Pak I think Pak Ruslan, right, from the APSI, from the Syariah. So I think it is mentioned already with Ms. Novita that we are uh, we'll be talking about something that really about the issue on how we are addressing and connecting the fintech industry within the regions, and how we are maybe to some extent OJK is quite new in terms of how we are regulating the fintechs and also colleagues from the central bank. But indeed, I think there is a need for us as well to see on benefit more on benefit sides rather than we have to go like say comparing how is the advance of the industry in the region, and we try to thinking about the harmonizing as well on for sure like how we are doing supervision regulation as well as supervision associated with risk that embedded into the fintech industries. On top of that, I think one issue that we can raise later on during sharing session insight from colleagues from the fintech player as well as regulators is something that I think we are addressing. Sorry, I'm missing to say hello as well to Jonathan Hatch as well as Josh Marngi of colleagues from the Australia Prudential Regulation Authority. Good morning as well. But it's I don't know, maybe it's a 2 hours difference Bali in Sydney. But anyway, thank you for coming and join the session. Again, I just want to highlight something that I think we're going to see our future plan in the region. In particular, I'm talking about something that we have the message from the chairman is next year, Indonesia will be the ASEAN chairmanships of ASEAN. So I think we are talking maybe later on how we are, materializing the status of being chairman of ASEAN 2023 Indonesia. Then in small part of OJK and also our colleagues from the fintech player as well as regulators, how we see and how we can contribute into this chairmanship of Indonesia next year. So that's I think also one that we can discuss later on, colleagues. And I think on the other side, I think we have also colleagues from Malaysia, and I think we have colleagues from the APSI. So I don't know whether we can compare as well the development of fintech area, and also Pak Pandu as well, because he's the president of this fintech association in Indonesia. So maybe we are talking as well how we can develop as well fintech area here in Indonesia. Lesson learned from your experience, Wilson, in Malaysia. I don't know with Ibu Amor in Philippines, but I think it is quite potential as well to have this fintech area also, right, in Philippines. So that's all I think as just like introductions and maybe just open our understanding how we will do this about this regulatory roundtable discussion this morning, in particular on how we are connecting Asia Fintech Association, Asia Pacific Fintech ecosystems, as well as on more relatively micro issues on the fintech area. So I think I better stop here. Otherwise, then I'll present by myself again all the issues that regard to the fintech development in Indonesia. So I just invite. I don't know how to do it. Whether it is just like it's a round table. Maybe we can start from you or Amor first. I don't know how we are doing that things, but I think Ibu Vita mentioned already that we give like 10 minutes presentations from the regulators and 5 minutes presentations of this. But it's not really presentations, actually. It's just, conversations. How we are thinking about the future of Asia Pacific fintech ecosystem. Yeah. In terms of the operations, in terms of, let's say, I mean, before next year, what we can contribute into the Indonesian as a chairman of ASEAN next year. So I stop here. So we start with the regulators, Bu Novita. We start with the regulators, right? Or the fintechs. I think regulators just listen. The main player, the main persons, the main actors is actually the Fintech association. So I think we better start with the Fintech association first, and then maybe followed by the regulators. You know, regulators just like a tailor, you know, just cut and pieces and then assemble into a product, shirts or trousers or whatever. But I think it's better to hear first from the Fintech players. So I start with, I don't know, Pak Pandu, you want to start first or as a host, right? Or no. Oh, you just ask Pak Takeshi. Is quite far from us, from ASEAN. So okay. Bu Amor first, okay. Ladies first. Sorry for that. Sorry for that arrangement.
No, I think it's more of I'm needed by my other boss for another
Oh, that one, okay.
Right? You know who,
I can do it bilaterally with her. Thank you, Bu Amor.
Assalamualaikum, salamat pagi at mabuhay po ang Indonesia at mabuhay po tayong lahat. My name is Amor Maclang. Very quickly, I represent the largest private sector movement in the Philippines, taking up the digital economy's Digital Pilipinas, and I'm the executive director and trustee of Fintech Philippines Association. Having said that, I think I am at a slight advantage because I have been darkening the doorsteps of OJK and AFTEC the past few months, beginning August. So I have a more formalized list of requests and suggestions that I have pre-aligned with both Ibu Mercy and Patriono, and also Ibu Vita. So first and foremost, on the regional side of things, how we look at fintech is not so much as a payments and a banking pillar, because I'll probably say something controversial. In a few years, fintech will soon die. We do not hear people saying things like, oh, let's organize an email festival, right? Because it's already embedded and it's already seamless. And if we all do our jobs right together, fintech will soon die, and it's fine, because then it'll give way to embedded finance. Then at which point we'll move on to something else. Fintech for us is not just about banking and payments, but it's the fuel that actually fires various industries. So that's how we look at it from the Philippine perspective. In the last Philippine Fintech Festival, where I'm very honored to say we had a dedicated Indonesia Day, those who visited were able to see that we broke it according to various verticals, all the way from insurtech, health tech, capital markets, wealth tech. And I'll share that with you. I'm sharing that with you because that has a bearing on my wish list to both AFTEC and OJK. Then on a final note, at the regional association level, together with Cambodia, who's unfortunately not present, Singapore, who's present, Malaysia, who is present, and Thailand, who unfortunately could not make it, we represent the One ASEAN FinTech movement, and we've been courting Indonesia to hopefully lead us next year. And I think we're close to getting Ibu Mercy to say yes, right? Because it's the only logical step. With Indonesia being the chair for ASEAN, it only makes sense that not just for FinTech, it's for digital economies that you help lead us, being the largest ASEAN market. So that's in the regional side. Now, I know we don't have much time. I have a laundry list of 4 things I'd like to request OJK. First and foremost, I'd like to share with you that we are running an open finance pilot in the Philippines, sans banks. So just to give you an idea, Indonesia and the Philippines are the closest to twin sisters in terms of demographics, the needs, ecosystem. It's like looking at ourselves in the mirror. And having said that, when people say in the Philippines that they are not banked, it is because their money are with cooperatives. And so today, we actually launched the CTech program, and I just delivered a virtual keynote because I felt it was important to be here. Since 2018, the market of cooperatives in the Philippines continue to be excluded from the main banking system. And but it doesn't mean that they're not robust. So what we are hoping to do in the Philippines and hopefully cross-pollinate with either a POC or a sandbox with OJK would be a non-banking related open finance pilot. Right now, we have as participants our first Duacorn GCash, the cooperative sector, and a third-party technology provider who's Indonesia-based, Brankas. And imagine the unthinkable. A Duacorn like GCash has agreed to open up their credit score. Oh my God, that's like their prize jewel. And POC with a cooperative in our Muslim region. By the way, 1/3 of the Philippines is Muslim, and many people are not aware of this. They continue to be excluded. So a Duacorn like GCash is looking into opening up its credit score to a small cooperative in a Muslim area in the Philippines, and then connected by an Indonesian TPP called Brankas. Now, once we roll that out, we hope to find a way to connect it with a small community in Indonesia. So this is an open finance pilot outside of the banking sector. So right now, our Bangko Sentral has what they call the OFOC. Please don't read it out. The name of how the acronym sounds like is not governance oriented, OFOC, but together with the IFC, they currently are crafting guidelines, but it's still very bank driven. Okay, so this open finance, let's put a pin on that possible open finance pilot. I don't know what the counterpart of a cooperative is in Indonesia. I look forward to learning. Second request. So in the Philippines, the insurance sector is actually not under our central bank. It's under the IC. And I am one of the co-founders of the InsurTech and HealthTech consortium of the Philippines that is comprised of the Life Insurance Association, the non-life, and our one and only national reinsurer, NATRE. So we've launched that in our recent Philippine Fintech Festival. And together with the IC, we're ready to do a sandbox with OJK. So guide us, right? So I told you, Patriono, we have a couple of wish lists. So that's the second on the insurance side, because I know OJK oversees that. Third, I know we're supposed to have only 3 requests from the genie, but I have 4. So the third is on the capital market side, right? I told you I've been doing my assignment. Wealth tech, one of the greatest injustice in the Philippines is those who have access to both wealth products, those who can afford wealth products do not have access to wealth products. And we need to reverse that. So, Patriono, we have one of the biggest quote-unquote fintechs in the Philippines called Cole Financial, 500,000 active capital markets trading. And they're part of the Digital Pilipinas Consortium. And together with Commissioner Kelvin Lee, we would like to work with OJK on doing a pilot on capital markets. So we have an active 500,000 user base, organically grown, no fancy digital marketing. So you can imagine, I know it's not big, but 500 active users for capital markets. So please guide us on what we can do together. We can have the Securities and Exchange Commission, Digital Pilipinas, Cole Financial, and even a digital exchange called PDAX. So one of the listed crypto and digital assets exchanges in the Philippines, there are 2. One is coins.ph and the other is PDAX. And if we can find a way to bring them together, they're all willing, so they're ready. They're just waiting for an invite to go to Jakarta, okay? And then last is not related to any POC. The last is a personal request I have to Patriono, which is to please guide us on SupTech. How do we lower the cost of regulation at the governmental sector? So for the first time in our history as a young republic, we now have an e-government undersecretary for the Department of Communications and Technology. That's USEC David Almirol. And we shared with him what Singapore and Indonesia has done. Actually, the main champion for the MAS before for Tech is David Hardoon, who's not with the MAS anymore, but is with a Philippine company called Union Bank, one of our conveners. So I'm requesting kindly if Patriono can either come down, work with our local regulators, not just at the Banco Central, but across the board, together with the DICT, to open our eyes on what we can do on the Tech side. So before I overstay my welcome, I'm going to pause for now, but that would be my 4 list: open finance pilot with a cooperative counterpart in Indonesia, an InsurTech sandbox together with the industry in the Philippines, a capital markets execution, and a Tech advocacy, which I hope you look at as an advocacy for OJK. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Ibu Amra. I think items that you raised is actually within our agenda anyway. But I think we can start with this. Is it fine with you, Bu Amra, that maybe I can ask the other panelists as well to say something on this, or maybe you have specific issues that you want to share with us? Yeah, but anyway, I think these 4 items, 4 proposals coming from Bu Amra is quite challenging for us as well, because if I may say, in particular on Tech, we are just on the first step on how we are preparing ourselves as a regulator to design.
But we're still leaps and bounds ahead.
Yeah.
They don't even know what Tech is. So when it got introduced to me by Patriono and Mercy in August, and I started sharing it with our local players, you're like, what is that? What the only soup they know in Indonesia is soup buntut.
Sop buntut. Okay. Sop buntut is very, very, very delicious. Okay, thank you, Umar. So I will keep this first, and then I think then we can discuss later on with others. So then I invite Pandu. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to Bali. I know it's very difficult to come to Bali, given its place, and as well because of the G20, B20. So a lot of the logistic things have to happen to make this a success. I think this has been a very interesting year for all of us, and somehow we all survive, and hopefully we're thriving, right? And now today we're here on 11/11, which is our Indonesian Fintech Day, and hopefully become our ASEAN Fintech Day. So. Not just the e-commerce day. That's why we did it 11/11. You know, I think the world has changed a lot. I think in everyone's mind every day is about geopolitics. And, you know, if it's not Indonesia, what Mahendra yesterday said, we may not even have a G20 today. Just given a lot of tension happening in the world. And, you know, for us, Indonesia, we've always been in a position that we focus on ourselves, what we can do, and work with everyone, right? And how can we be useful to our citizen and our nation partners, right? And ASEAN in itself, all of us, I know we're all neighbors. And to be frank, we all do business with one another. So see this as an opportunity, I think, what we're doing. And next year, we're hosting also ASEAN Summit, right? And hopefully we see all of you here again, right? And hopefully by then, we actually have concrete things that we're doing. So one thing I just have to remind, you know, this year, geopolitics is top of mind. Managing risk and governance has become top of mind. Fintech has actually become synonymous of just financial services, I would say today, because it touches everyone's mind, especially younger generation. 30 years old and below cannot live without the services that our members provide. And you know it become important because now we have meetings with regulators and we have this with regulators every day, right? Which means it's become essential to society. Right? So moving forward, I think we have to become cognizant. It's not just about growth, is that we have to become good actors. I think we have to be able to learn how do we manage governance, risk. That has two things that has top of mind. I know today we are hosting somebody from the crypto world, and that has become an asset class on its own that touches mostly young people in Indonesia. I think to share Indonesia throughout COVID grew from less than 1 million Ibu to now 12 million, close to 13 million crypto users. Majority are Indonesians, but because of the falling of crypto, they actually lose their net worth. So now the question is for them, how are we able to balance and manage and teach, right? Because I think somehow crypto has become a financial inclusion tool. So that's something also that we have to put in mind. So I'm going to bring a lot of questions and some hopefully concrete proposal just to blow it on the table, and then we can have these questions. Number one, ASEAN is a big market. We're now about 600, 700. We're bigger than the EU, I think, as a market in terms of number of customers. In the next 10 years, I think the economy of us can go more than between 50% to double, which is significant. We are one of the few places in society globally that are moving upward. So see this as an opportunity. How can we use technology to outleap, everybody else and also enhance for our own member society, either in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Japan, in Cambodia, everywhere, right? This is our opportunity. So see that one is an opportunity. How can we promote more trade with one another? Can QRIS be a solution for all of our members of society to transact? For example, if they come to Bali, they don't have to use Visa or MasterCard. They can use directly your member banks and mobile first and pay. And if you want to use the BNPL and credit card, this is their credit card. How do we promote amongst ourselves? And that's okay, lah. The rest wants to follow, that's okay. But amongst us, that is one concrete way to do it. Second is about P2P lending. Obviously our market is very big, but you can learn from us because we've also made our shares of mistakes, right? We're not perfect. We've made our mistakes. But now, how can we promote our learning and application? Because the only way you can learn if we actually do it, right? So how we can promote P2P lending? Because at the end, similar to Philippines and Indonesia, we're users of capital. Singapore and Singapore and Malaysia is actually provider of capital. So how do we work together on that and promote more technology transfer and application? So that's number two. And I think number three, I think when you discuss about non-banking related open finance, essentially financial inclusion, and I think that's also critical for us, critical for Philippines, and critical for majority of the ASEAN states, right? So how are we able to do it? And I think this is where the regulators will need to help at working with other regulators. How can we, us in the private sector, work not just closer, but be able to transact more, right? And that's important. Money flow can be prevented, or money flow can also be helped by regulators. So that's something I think should be top of mind on the list. Lastly, across asset classes, I just need to mention this. Asset classes, I mentioned crypto in the beginning, I'll mention crypto at the end. I would say it's unstoppable trend. It has to be identified. And then second, whether it's to be regulated or not, that's a question for each regulator, right? The episode of what happened in the last 5 days, I think it's a great learning because even in the US, right, it was caught as a big surprise. Because what's happening to crypto today is similar to the 2008 great financial crisis without any regulation. So this is something just as a question. This is not something to be answered, but how should we identify the key issues and how should regulators think about this? And the question is, should it be managed or not? And if it should be managed, how? So maybe I'll stop there, Pa, but again, thank you for coming to Bali. And hopefully this is just a start for a proper discussion when we meet next year. I threw 2, 3 ideas already that can be concrete. I'll repeat about the QRIS, about the fund flow, right? And the financial inclusion, how we can help one another on that with respect to P2P. Thank you, Pa.
Uh, Thank you so much, Pak Pandu, for very remarkable ideas that he shared with us on something that we can optimize again in the future, considering the size of the market, as well as how we are, optimizing as well the payment systems across nation, right? As well as and I think we also engage with something that is something that inevitable in the future. Talking about crypto as well as how the regulators will anticipate and how we can learn from the other regulators as well. But anyway, very well noted, Pak Pandu. And then I think we can follow by further discussions in the future. Thank you. So turn off to you, Wilson. Thank you.
Selamat pagi. Salam sejahtera. Good morning. Thank you, Pak Imansha, for the introduction and moderation. My name is Wilson. I'm the president of the Fintech Association of Malaysia, and I'm also a full-time Fintech entrepreneur. And my past life was a banker in an ASEAN regional bank. So ASEAN is something that's very close to my heart, and the flourishing of financial innovation is also something deep in my heart. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, OJK BI, Indonesia Fintech Association, for hosting me and the delegates here. I have to say that it is a very remarkable initiative. The last time I was in Indonesia was before COVID in 2019. So 2 years of hiatus, couldn't travel. Of course, in 2019, the digitalization in Indonesia was already advancing, but today, even yesterday, as we were engaging with the Fintech Association members and some of the board members, on a personal level, I'm totally impressed with the remarkable advancement that Indonesia has made. And I would like to thank Pak Pandu, Ibu Mercy, and Pak Philip as well for the work that has been put in the past few months. And I have 2 points to make for further discussion. Number one, I believe that at the regulatory level, at the G2G level, between Malaysia and Indonesia, between regulators in Malaysia and key regulators in Indonesia, there have been key initiatives which are being ironed out or which are being implemented. For example, I understand that there's a cross-border QR payment initiative that is being implemented between BI and BNM. And I was also informed by Pak Triono, which stated that there was also an MOU signed between Securities Commission and OJK as well. I think that was before COVID, right, in 2019. And I believe that point number one, how can we also bring down the close ties of partnership from the G2G or the regulatory level to the industry level? Because I strongly believe that ASEAN is one, and there are a lot of best practices that we can learn from each other. And this is where I believe that in the era of innovation, I think Pak Pandu was saying as well, there's bound to be error, there's bound to be mistake that one would make as we progress to embrace innovation. The question is how we can learn from each other at the industry level, from the best of fintech companies, the best of fintech entrepreneurs, to reduce the friction and also to reduce the mistakes that one would make in the respective markets. I think that will be very key. And I think it will be very interesting as we start this initiative at the industry level, leading up to Indonesia being the chair, leading up to ASEAN FinTech next year. Hopefully we'll see fruition, whereby, for example, fintech entrepreneurs from Malaysia get to learn from fintech entrepreneurs from Indonesia, from Japan, from Philippines, from Thailand and Singapore and many more, to really create a very strong fintech ecosystem in ASEAN as a whole, to be the beacon of light, to lead fintech innovation representing ASEAN in the global stage. So that will be key point number one. And with the support from key regulators, key authorities, I believe this could be done. My second point would be really on, again, going deeper into the fintech best practices. From Malaysia perspective, I believe there are a lot more that we can learn from each other with Indonesia on Sharia fintech or Islamic fintech. And let me just quickly point out the three different categories that the Malaysian market has advanced or has gone through in the past 12 to 18 months. Number one, in the conventional banking space, early this year, Bank Negara has unveiled 5 digital banking licenses. And out of the 5, 2 banking licenses were specifically given out for Islamic digital bank. So another 3, they are conventional digital banks. Another 2 led by Aeon Consortium and CAF Investment Bank Consortium. Their DNA is deeply rooted in Islamic digital banking, in Sharia banking. That is more towards the banking side. And number 2, in terms of insurance, so the Fintech Association of Malaysia has also signed a partnership with the Malaysia Takaful Association. I feel that, or the industry feels that there's still a lot of under-awareness when it comes to Takaful. It's a very beautiful concept, where everyone comes in to pull together to share the risk. And I believe with technology, with fintech, the concept of Takaful can even be amplified and magnified. And I believe in this portion, in this part, Malaysia and Indonesia, we have so much to learn from each other, to support each other, to lead in terms of Sharia fintech in the region. And third, and this is very new, the recent update by Securities Commission of Malaysia, as most of you would be aware of, the Securities Commission Malaysia was one of the first regulators in the region to unveil the framework for equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. When it was first started, close to 10 licensees were given the licenses. Close to $800 million in capital has been raised through 41,000 successful campaigns, and more than 5,000 MSMEs, the micro SMEs, have been benefited from this initiative since as of June 2022. What has been transpired last month was that SC is also coming out to the market to introduce and to encourage more equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer players with Sharia solutions and value propositions. And this is catering more towards a capital market initiative. So I believe in terms of Sharia fintech, Islamic fintech, under these three key categories, whether it's digital banking or insurance or capital market for peer-to-peer or ECF, I will be very excited to engage the industry, engage our Indonesian counterparts to learn from each other and to come up with world-leading guidance for Sharia fintech as a whole. So these are the 2 points that I would like to make. Number 1 is to bring down the close partnership level in the industry level. Number 2 would be really to go one step further to work on the best practices and to be a global leader as ASEAN in the form of Sharia fintech or Islamic fintech, depending how we name it. Thank you.
I think the update from Wilson, in particular, the last part on this Sharia, I think is very something that we can, talk again, discuss again further. And I think I do agree, very much agree, and really support on how we are, constructing the fintech Sharia in the future. In particular, when you are introducing something that related into the capital market with the equity crowdfunding, and then you are inserting the Sharia features into this practice. So we do have actually colleagues from the capital market as well. But anyway, we have also this platform, Wilson, in our case, on the securities crowdfunding, and that one is facilitated in particular with the capital markets colleagues. But anyway, we have how many platforms? 11 platforms with this securities crowdfunding, but none with Sharia. Is actually, this is still conventional, right? Oh, you have 2, yeah. Okay. That's, I think, a big opportunity to talk each other again, in the future, right? And then you can exchange the experience how we are handling the issue on this Sharia fintech. Thank you, Wilson. Thank you. So moving again, and I invite Pak Takeshi, Mr. Takeshi. No, Pak is okay. Thank you.
Thank you. By way of introduction, my name is Takeshi Kito, and I am Vice Chairman of Fintech Association Japan. And in addition to the association role, I am entrepreneur. And before starting my own company, I was an investment banker and worked at Merrill Lynch. So my background is also capital market. And also I am working for the government, some government initiatives. And one is government of Japan's regulatory sandbox. I am a committee member of the sandbox in Japan and appointed by the Prime Minister. And the second one is a committee of the Ministry of Economy's committee, which is for the cross-border or international data transfer. And compared to other countries' associations, Japan is facing some different issues and problems. And yeah, let me address some issues in Japan. One is aging society and shrinking population. And I think these issues will be also some problems you will be facing in the future, but we already face this issue, aging and shrinking the society. And the second issue is internationalization. And Japan has the third largest economy in terms of size and GDP. And it's still, as I mentioned, it's shrinking, but it's still big enough to do a business only in Japan. So many of Japanese companies, of course, fintech companies and financial institutions are only focusing on Japanese domestic markets. But as I mentioned, the market is shrinking, so we have to be more international, and we have to collaborate with other countries and companies in other countries. And the third point is, yeah, many of you mentioned Islamic finance. Of course, Japan is a non-Muslim nation, but some international financial centers, such as London, New York, and Hong Kong, Singapore, and Sydney as well, already have some infrastructure for Islamic finance or Islamic fintech. But Japan doesn't have it yet. So I'm very keen to develop Islamic fintech infrastructure and the ecosystem in Japan. Of course, it's not domestically, but internationally we need this infrastructure, and we are very keen to collaborate with Muslim nations, such as Indonesia. So these three issues we are facing. And I'd like to touch on some requests from or ambitions from my point of view. One is regulatory sandbox collaboration. Yeah, recently our regulator JFSA decided to join the GFIN framework, Global Financial Innovation Network. But it's more international, and I think we need to have more regional collaboration with other regulatory sandboxes. And the second point is passporting framework. Yeah, I think this enables us to have more international transactions and collaboration. Yeah, European regions already have this passporting framework, but we don't have it. So it's a second point. And last point is regional collaborations. So I understand you. So ASEAN countries already have a regional collaboration, multilateral collaboration. And Japan. So as a fintech association, we already have a bilateral partnerships and collaborations in the Northeast Asia and the Pacific. So we have partnership with Hong Kong, Korea, Taiwan, China, Mongolia, and Australia. And I really want to bridge ASEAN and Northeast Asia and Pacific region as a multilateral collaboration and partnership framework. And lastly, I'd like to mention some conferences, initiatives in Japan. Yeah, in the end of March, we are hosting in some conferences conference. It's the Japanese largest fintech conference. And next year, we are trying to expand it to a whole week conference. So it's let's say Japan Fintech Week. So I'd like to have all of you as an international delegate and more discussion with our Japanese stakeholders. And Japan will be hosting G7 summit next year. So we try to bring some agendas in the region to a more high level and share it with other G7 countries. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Takeshi, for your updates. And I think I take some notes as well on. I'm not talking about the invitation next year, but I think it's very interesting for Pandu to come there and see how is the practice in fintechs in Japan. But anyway, things some notes related into Islamic finance and sandbox as well, and then how you do and develop the partnership between Japan and also the Asian countries in terms of how we are doing the fintechs. Okay, thank you, Mr. Takeshi. And I turn to you, Pak Ruben. Thank you so much for coming to Bali in particular. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Hi, good morning everyone. Selamat pagi. I'm Ruben from Singapore Fintech Association. I just want to start off by saying that ASEAN can come together stronger. So in our interaction with all the other overseas counterparts, it's hardly people see Southeast Asia, hardly people see Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand as a single country, but they usually see it as an ASEAN. So I think it's again from the ground up, how can we then present ourselves to the overseas counterpart? And that one thing I want to call out, really down to the investment number as well. So the latest research that we found shows that ASEAN only attracts about, Southeast Asia only attract about 7 to 8% of global fintech funding investments. So that amounts to about 50 billion. Probably in Southeast Asia, it's only about under 4.3 billion. And that is a very stark contrast to what we have been knowing all this while, because we are the fourth largest market. We have close to 600 million population, growing market. So I think that's really one thing that ASEAN can come together stronger so that we can attract more investment into this part of the world. And that I think will benefit everyone. Another thing I want to call out is that Singapore's success really depends a lot on our strong neighbors like all of you. Because at the end of the day, it's really the people, fintech in Singapore, startups in Singapore do not only look at Singapore market, but really we are very, very small. So we depend a lot on the success of the others. And a couple of things I want to call out is that before I go to my wish list, I heard from Pandu about crypto as well. So I just want to share that in Singapore itself, we have been taking a very strong stance on cryptocurrency, and maybe this is for the other regulators to take note as well. We almost kind of want to shut down retail investment. So MAS mantra to Singapore is not a fan. Wow.